Well, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to, I'm Bushka on Blitz, back with another dose of love, affection, and really, really fast, heavy Soviet tanking. I'm joined today by my co-commentator, Bushka Jr. Bushka Jr., would you like to talk to the people?
Hello.
He says hello. Anything else to say?
No.
It's nearly the end of school holidays, Bushka Jr. What do you think of the end of the school holidays?
It's the stupidest thing that anyone ever made.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go back to school, and why can you blame him? Because he's been out there playing tanks with all the other humans on the server. But I've got to say, I'm looking forward to some of these kids going back to school because they're driving me nuts. They're better than I am, and they love life, and they play it pretty hard. Now, the IS-8 is a fantastic tank. I did a review on this tank a long, long time ago called IS-8, IS Heavy, IS Medium, IS, I don't know, kind of thing. It's a heavyium. A heavyium is a wonderful thing to have in certain circumstances. I mean, at all times you want to have good armour and you want to have the best gun and you want to have the best speed, but you can't always have all those things in one tank. And the IS-8 is a good combination of everything. It's got a very, very much admired 122mm gun in it, the M62-T2, which is the same gun you end up with in the IS-4 and so. It's got 5.16 rounds per minute at 258mm a pen on your AP rounds, which is really important because that is a whole lot of pen for a heavy tank, and that is one of the wonderful things about this tank. You can push it really hard, as I am here. Look at the speed I am out on this flank, and I'm already putting shots in the back of the T-54, and we're not even a minute into the game, and I'm absolutely smashing him in a horrible position for this poor old T-54 because I've looked and seen they've only got the one medium. Well, they don't have one anymore. They've got no mediums left now. What do you think of that, Bushka Jr.?
Not very useful for the other team.
Yeah, not very useful at all. And we are bottlenecking them. And that's what this tank can do. It can get to a strong point, a choke point like this, and put absolutely horrific amounts of damage in. What it doesn't have is gun depression. It is typically Russian in that regard. And this is, in fact, one of my first games back in this tank. And a lot of people, the reason I'm doing this is because so many people actually ask me about the IS-8, but look at this, I'd forgotten about the gun depression. Watch me try to put a shot on this tortoise. And this is, I think, one of the reasons why people have such an issue with this tank, particularly if they played the American line and such first. You just cannot get that gun down. Won't go down, won't go down. I finally got it down. Oh, hello, look, it's a tortoise. I wonder if he'd like to pen me. Why don't you do that? I mean, if that was your first time in a heavy tank and you didn't know, and I should know better because I do the bloody reviews, this is what you can do if you're a sneaky bugger like I am. You can back up if there is actually an incline behind you and use that berm as cover and just put shots in like that. But you can't always find that. The old Winter Malinovka used to do that all the time. If you remember correctly, in the IS-7 video I do that on the old Winter Mal in the hellishly nasty corner. You can get up on the side of things like this and shoot over the left-hand side of your tank. I mean, we still took a shot there because we were spotted on the radar when we did it, but that's another thing you can do. What you really love doing in this tank is getting out and following the mediums or pushing to strong points and pounding lighter armoured tanks when you get there. 5.16 rounds per minute is nothing to scoff at 420 alpha. That's right, it gets that extra little bit of alpha that the M103 and other tanks don't get. And that gives you, enough alpha damage that you can be a really tenacious tank. You can take people down and you can be there in strength and numbers with your mediums when they don't expect it. And that's a great thing to do. And I really enjoy that playstyle. My most negative tanks, the tanks that I've kind of given up on or that I just don't play that much anymore, are the super slow tanks, the super big, heavy super liners that just take forever to get places. Even though the Death Star, for instance, is a super big tank, it still gets along at 35 kilometers an hour. And I'm about to do a review on the 88, and that poor old bugger, the T95. I mean, I started doing a second review on the T95 and gave up because I just got so frustrated with the amount of time I was out of the battle and the amount of time that things were decided while I wasn't involved. And look at the gun handling. It is 0.38 dispersion, which again is typically Russian, but the aim time is 2.9 seconds, and for that reason I run a vertical stabilizer. Stay away from the gun lane drive, guys. Vertical stabilizer is by far a better option than a gun lane drive on pretty much all your tanks. It gives a lot more benefit across a lot more situations, a lot more variety of situations, and this tank can certainly utilize it because you're firing on the move, you're firing from forward positions, you're being a really bolshy, aggressive tank, and that's one of the things I love about it. The ST1 is the other tier 9 Russian heavy, and while I adore the ST1, I find it doesn't give you the ability to actually turn thought into action like the IS-8 does. And the IS-8 gets out there so quickly, and if you're an aggressive driver like I am in a heavy tank, then you can get out there quickly and think about a tactic and put it into effect really, really simply and effectively. And quite often you'll surprise mediums who just don't expect you to be there, like that T-54 in the opening sequence. The gun handling feels a lot better to me than 0.38. That could be because I've got a lot of perks and I know to let the reticle go down to quite a small distance, but it seems a lot better than that for my money. It plays a lot better than that. It could be that it's got very good dispersion numbers on the move. I don't know. I'd take a guess that that's it because I don't have access to those numbers myself. Although I probably should, and I've seen them on places like tanks.gg, etc. But that doesn't apply to Blitz, and there are certain differences between Blitz and the PC version of World of Tanks that you don't want to take for granted. Now you can see I'm with Rich here, and we're having struggles. He stops to talk and I run into him, which is kind of like, what are you doing, Rich? And then he's trying to talk again and he's running me off the road. But this is one of the things when you play together. You get to experience these wonderful, joyous moments. You also get to experience the moments where you get saved by your platoon mates. So you never put poop on your platoon mates because they'll come back and save you later. For edification also, Bushka Jr. is here because it is school holidays and we're meant to be doing stuff at the moment, aren't we, mate? No. Yeah, no. He's just having a little rest. I won't let him go on the iPad or anything at the moment. He's had enough iPad, enough electronics. There'll be no electronics for the rest of the day. You can see here we've pushed up. I love this tank and I love being aggressive in it. It's a pure heavyium. In fact, in my opinion, it's one of the most pure heavyiums in the game. And that's a joyous thing, especially if you love, like the M103 is 35 kilometers an hour. This thing gets out to 50 and it has the same traverse numbers, 28 degrees of traverse on its tracks, which is what makes the M103 such a lovely standout. The E5, for instance, which isn't quite as mobile, has 25 degrees. Well, this has 28 degrees on its tracks and 23 degrees on its turret, which is a whole lot of traverse. You can see that AT-15 there. You can go straight through him with AP. He's got no business being here. And the armour profile, look, your armour profile isn't amazing. It's not amazing, but it's trollish, especially since Wargaming did something to the mechanics of APCR and AP and seemed to almost buff heat. Heat goes through spaced armour and such a lot better now than it previously did. But I've never bounced more AP and APCR shells off the side of a tier 9 tank than I have of late off the IS-8. And it's been a huge beneficiary of that. The fact that you're able to get these bounces that you don't really rely on, but that actually sometimes happen for you, are wonderful things. Now, your heat has 340 millimeters of pen on it. Again, fantastic pen numbers. 258 and 340. That is so like tier X medium style pen numbers that it's not funny. In fact, those are the numbers for half the tier X mediums, about 258 to 270 millimeters and 330 to 340 millimeters of pen on your heat. And you can see here, that's a big dog. We get a bounce again. It does things like this, like the armor numbers are not huge. You really want to be angling your pike nose towards the enemy, which I'm doing here. And I'm going up and then down and pulling back. And you might have to take one every once in a while because, you know, other people can pen other tanks, but it's also very low profile. And profile is a huge part of armour. The best armour of all is not being seen. And when you are quite low to the ground and you can hide behind berms and things, that's even better than having an impenetrable turret. You just go and have a talk to someone who's driving an Object 140 or a T62A and talk to them about how often they don't get hit because the enemy cannot see them versus, say, an M48A1 who is bigger than a house and gets hit all the time. Not being seen is the best possible defense you can have, and you can see how aggressive we've been in this game. We've moved up, we've got plenty of hit points left. Again, that's so trollish. The IS-8 gets bounces like this that it probably doesn't deserve, and it does so more now than it did previously. I've run out of AP rounds again. The ammo loadout is a little bit light on for this for me. I got too much in the HE because I'm driving on the exhibition account, and some of the ammo loadouts on the exhibition account are absolutely ridiculous, and you can't do anything about that. That's just how it is. When I drive it further, I obviously change the ammo loadouts, but this is one of the first games back, and it suits me down to the ground. So if you're looking for a heavy tank that can get out there and bust it with the meds, and look how this thing goes, like down that hill and up the other side like a jackrabbit, that has a hell of a punch, and 420 Alpha is a hell of a punch, then the IS-8 is a heavy tank for you, because, Lord, I love me some action at pace. I am so sick and tired of playing super big heavy tanks. I play the mouse as a bit of a giggle the other day, and while it's fun to go to sometimes, it's not what I'd call a main tank. And there you go, nearly 5k, big mastery badge there. Not huge XP, because I've got a feeling it's not one of the most played tanks. It does get a look in on the way to the IS-7, but people tend to ignore it and on-sell it after that. But if you're used to using game mechanics, resetting your camo, all that kind of stuff, and you love the medium style of gameplay, but you're not really good at the angling and stuff that you do in heavies, give this thing a look. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, the grind isn't fantastic if you don't already have the guns. You do have the BL9 as the gun before the M62. I had that already in hand when I played it the first time around, and I obviously had it at full capacity here on the test server. You can see there I'm running vents, a rammer, and a V-stab. The vents, just because I don't really believe optics are great on a heavy. You could put optics in there if you're running double rations. I wouldn't call you an idiot for doing it at all. I know a lot of people who are very, very good and much better than I am run optics and binoculars on their heavy tanks. But for me, I prefer the vents. Helps the gun handling, helps traverse, helps everything. So there you have it, guys. The IS-8, the IS Great. How about we call that? How about we call it the IS Great? There you go. Let's start that off as a motion. I'm Bushka on Blitz. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of content coming up. I've got a really exciting thing coming up for patrons, which I'm going to be talking about in the Telegram chat with the patrons and getting some feedback on what they'd like. You can hear Oscar Jr. slurping away on a milk in the back because he's a 7-year-old who should be reading a book or doing maths or something. Don't punch me. Stop it. Stop it.
No.
Anyway, I think we're going to have to take Bushka Jr. out for a bit of a romp in the park, get the dog going, kick the football, or do something like that. I've done enough videos for the day. Onwards and upwards, humans. Thank you so much for your passion, your commitment to the channel. If you'd ever consider sponsoring me, click on the Patreon link and we can hopefully continue this video every single day for a long, long time. And if you've got any responses, things you want to see, always leave it in the comments section of YouTube. I don't answer every single comment, but I do look at most of them. It's just got to the point now where I don't have time to answer all the comments. But you put a tank up there, a request, an idea, I'll take it in hand and we'll see what we can do. Until next time, boys and girls, stay safe on the battlefield.